Max Verstappen just did something nobody expected. New Ford power unit. Red Bull's first fully integrated in-house engine era. Massive pressure. Zero margin for error. And after Bahrain Preseason testing, he adapted instantly. This was supposed to be the risky season. Engine uncertainty. Reliability doubts. Integration fears. Instead, what we saw was shocking. A 15-lap race simulation with barely a tenth of a second variation. An engine running 12 degrees cooler than Mercedes and Ferrari. 15 km/h advantage at the end of the straight without drag reduction. And here's the part that should really scare the grid. Max says the car isn't even his favorite to drive. It feels heavier in slow corners. More demanding. Yet he still delivered race pace roughly 4/10 per lap faster than Ferrari over long runs. And he was lifting on the straights. Hiding performance. While others chased Saturday headlines. Red Bull were building Sunday dominance. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Verstappen's adaptation to the Ford-powered RB22 might be the most important development of the entire preseason, why the thermal efficiency data is so significant, and why Bahrain may have quietly revealed the true championship favorite. If you want to understand what's really happening beneath the surface in Formula One, subscribe now. Because what testing just exposed is bigger than anyone expected. Preseason testing is officially over. No more experiments. No more hidden fuel loads. No more, we're just collecting data. Bahrain gave us 3 full days of evidence. And the evidence tells a story that goes far beyond headline lap times. Because coming into this test, there were real doubts surrounding Red Bull. This was not just a minor engine tweak. This was their first fully integrated power unit project with Ford. New architecture. New internal responsibility. New pressure. When teams introduce a brand new hybrid system, there is usually turbulence. Drivers complain about torque spikes. Engineers fight energy clipping. Thermal spikes force lift and coast. There is almost always a visible adaptation phase. But from the very first shakedown laps in Barcelona, something felt different. Verstappen reported that the transition between electric deployment and combustion power was smooth. Neutral balance. No harsh surprises. That is rare for a new engine cycle. Then Bahrain added tension. Midweek, a hydraulic issue parked the RB22 in the garage for hours. Rumors spread quickly. Is this where the fragility appears? Is the Ford integration too ambitious? Max was scheduled to drive that afternoon, and he reportedly refused to run until the car was fully sorted. That was not drama. That was expectation. He wanted a complete machine. And when the RB22 returned to the track, the response was brutal. A 15-lap race simulation with barely a tenth of a second variation. That is not normal preseason fluctuation. That level of consistency tells you the car is predictable. And predictability is the foundation of dominance. Now layer in the thermal numbers. The Ford power unit has reportedly been operating around 12 degrees cooler than its main rivals. 12 degrees is not marginal. It is strategic. Cooler engines require less aggressive cooling. Less cooling means tighter bodywork. Tighter bodywork means lower drag. Lower drag plus uninterrupted electric deployment equals straight-line efficiency that compounds over race distance. While some teams were experiencing visible clipping at the end of Bahrain's long straight, the RB22 kept deploying power. No fade. No sudden drop. Estimates suggest roughly 15 km/h advantage without drag reduction. That is not a small gain. That is systemic efficiency. But here is where Verstappen's adaptation becomes the real headline. He openly admitted the RB22 is not his favorite car in slow corners. It feels heavier. More deliberate. He had to adjust his driving style to manage the energy. And yet, despite that, his long-run averages were roughly 4/10 per lap faster than Ferrari. 4/10 per lap over a full race is decisive. And during some of those quicker laps, he was lifting on the straights. Managing output. Not revealing the ceiling. That suggests there is still performance in reserve. Technically, the car reinforces that narrative. The anti-dive suspension keeps the platform flat under braking. Flat platform means stable aerodynamics. Stable aerodynamics protect tire life. Minimal tire degradation creates strategic flexibility. This is not a car chasing explosive Saturday glory. It is a car engineered for Sunday control. Preseason testing is complete. And what Verstappen's adaptation revealed is not just that he is fast. We already knew that. It revealed that he synchronized with a brand new power unit era almost instantly. No hesitation. No visible learning curve. When a reigning champion adapts that quickly to a new engine architecture, and the data shows thermal superiority, energy stability, and consistent race pace, that is not coincidence. That is preparation. And if the first Grand Prix confirms what Bahrain suggested, the conversation may shift very quickly. Not about whether Red Bull are competitive, but about how long it will take anyone else to catch up. And here is where the championship implications become impossible to ignore. Because what Bahrain revealed was not just that the RB22 is quick. It revealed that Red Bull are starting this season from a position of control. Control changes everything. When your engine runs cooler than your rivals, you are not operating on the edge. You are operating with margin. Margin means you are not desperately opening bodywork to survive heat. Margin means you can tighten packaging further as the season progresses. Margin means you can introduce aggressive aerodynamic upgrades without triggering thermal panic. That is how dominance compounds. Most teams leave preseason with a list of urgent corrections. Energy deployment inconsistencies, cooling tweaks, balance instability in long runs. Red Bull appear to have left with refinement points, not emergency fixes. And that difference is enormous. Now think about Verstappen's adaptation again. He admitted the car feels heavier in slow corners. Not as playful, more demanding. But what did he not say? He did not say it was unpredictable. He did not say it was unstable. He did not say it lacked confidence under braking. Instead, he emphasized control. Control under braking. Control over energy deployment. Control over degradation. When a driver at his level feels in control, mistakes shrink. Risk management sharpens. Race execution becomes clinical. And that is where the real danger lies. Because brutal one-lap speed can be matched. But sustained, repeatable pace combined with driver confidence is far harder to challenge. In Bahrain, we saw long runs where the lap times barely moved. No dramatic tire cliff. No visible clipping at the end of the straight. Just rhythm. And rhythm wins championships. There is also the psychological effect. When rivals analyze telemetry and see that the Ford power unit is running significantly cooler, when they see uninterrupted deployment and consistent race pace, doubt creeps in. Doubt forces aggression. Aggression leads to over-pushing development. Over-pushing development can lead to fragility. Red Bull, meanwhile, can remain calm. Develop incrementally. Protect reliability. Expand performance step by step. That is how eras are built. Preseason testing is over. The stopwatch has delivered its message. Verstappen did not just look fast. He looked synchronized. Synchronized with a brand new engine project. Synchronized with a chassis that is not even his preferred balance. Synchronized with a package that appears to have headroom left. And that is the insane truth revealed after Bahrain. Red Bull are not adapting to a new era. They may already be ahead of it. If the opening race confirms what testing suggested, qualifying headlines might still belong to others on certain weekends. But over race distance, over strategy, over tire life and energy phases, the RB22 looks engineered for control. And when Max Verstappen has control at the beginning of a season, history shows what usually follows. Not chaos. Not uncertainty. But momentum. And momentum, once established, is incredibly difficult to stop. And this is the part that should genuinely worry the rest of the paddock. Because when a team begins a season with stability, efficiency, and a fully synchronized driver, the development curve becomes aggressive instead of reactive. Red Bull are not chasing solutions. They are polishing strengths. That distinction is everything. If your biggest preseason headline is a hydraulic issue that gets resolved within hours, and you immediately respond with one of the most consistent race simulations of the entire test, that sends a message. Not panic. Precision. And precision is what sustains dominance. Now consider what happens next. When engineers return to the factory after a test like Bahrain, they are not rewriting core systems. They are fine-tuning. Minor aerodynamic refinements. Energy mapping optimizations. Floor updates to unlock incremental downforce. All of that becomes possible when your foundation is stable. The Ford power unit, once viewed as the gamble of the season, now looks like the anchor. Cooler temperatures. Uninterrupted deployment. No visible clipping at the end of long straights. That thermal margin is not just about reliability. It is a competitive weapon. Because if you can afford to run tighter bodywork and lower drag without risking overheating, you gain performance without sacrificing durability. And that balance is rare. Verstappen's adaptation only amplifies that advantage. He did not need months to adjust braking technique. He did not need extended experimentation to find comfort. He accepted that the car feels heavier in slow corners. He adjusted his inputs. He maximized what the car offers rather than forcing it into his preferred style. That level of adaptability is what separates champions from fast drivers. Now imagine the first race weekend. Ferrari might produce a spectacular qualifying lap. Mercedes might surprise with a bold setup gamble. But over race distance, when tire degradation begins to matter, when energy management becomes decisive, when track temperature shifts mid-stint, the advantage returns to the most stable package. And stability is exactly what Bahrain exposed. 15 laps with almost no variation. Long run pace roughly 4/10 faster than Ferrari. Straight line efficiency that compounds over every lap. And a driver who feels in control rather than on the edge. Control is quiet. It does not create dramatic headlines. But it builds pressure on everyone else. Because if Red Bull can dictate pace without revealing their full potential, rivals are forced to guess where the ceiling lies. Guessing leads to overreaction. Overreaction leads to mistakes. Preseason testing is finished. The numbers are set. The data has circulated through every engineering department in the paddock. And the insane truth revealed is not just that the RB22 is competitive. It is that it looks sustainable. Sustainable speed wins championships. Explosive speed wins Saturdays. And if the opening Grand Prix confirms what Bahrain suggested, the narrative may shift very quickly. Not about whether Red Bull are strong, but about whether anyone can disrupt their rhythm. Because when Verstappen adapts instantly to a new engine era, when thermal efficiency unlocks aerodynamic freedom, and when race pace is already repeatable before the season begins, that is not coincidence. That is preparation meeting opportunity. The lights have not gone out yet. But Bahrain may have already shown us something decisive. Red Bull are not experimenting. They are executing. And when execution becomes routine, dominance often follows.